puppy. Come here. Come here, puppy. Hi. Hi, puppy.
All right. What day is it? What day is it? Story of my life. What day is it? Where am I? What day is it? I think it's Saturday. It's Saturday, August 23rd. Sarah's not back yet. I forgot she gets in late tonight in Vancouver, so she won't be home until tomorrow now. So I've got another day to get this place semi-clean, as clean as I can get it. And then, of course, I totally forgot we have our meat chickens and meat turkey babies showing up before we leave. Totally forgot about that. Now I got to get that other frickin' barn all ready to go today. And it's gotten hot again here. real hot. Anyway, rambling. Little slip of coffee here. I've got that red light on my microphone facing me. Not screwing that up again. Now, I haven't done another sit down here with anyone yet. I've just been too busy here. I'm not in the right mind frame to sit and relax and have a conversation yet. I will shortly, but I've just got too much on my plate. Anyway, it's funny, a quick mention. I do keep tabs, as I hope everybody else does, on what's going on around the globe. There's a lot of grief going on around the globe, right? And I don't like to get caught up in negative shit. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I make a rule. I've done it for a while now to make sure, because normally it's comedy around here. Everything's comedy in my life for the most part, believe it or not. And I keep tabs on all the nasty shit going on around the world, but you have to, right? So I can make if I have to, make decisions or make moves, which will help preserve our lifestyle here at home and our mental health. Anyway, one thing I just like to share with everybody is I make sure I laugh my face off as much as I can. So as an example, like yesterday, instead of listening to some podcast where they talk about nothing but doom and gloom, I put on Kill Tony. And those guys can make me laugh for the most part, so that's what I do. And that's usually good for a couple hours of making sure I listen to something that makes me laugh. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I make sure we do what we love to do, but I also make sure that we laugh. No matter how bad it's getting out there, I make sure to stay on top of that and make sure I bring laughter into my life and into our home. Just so you know. It's a good practice to do, right? Anyway, I saw a video today of some zoomed-in lens on the moon. It showed some asteroid hitting it. And it finally kind of dawned on me for a second, just something to think about. I'm looking at the moon, and you're looking at the face of the moon, and it's just there's nothing but pockmarks all over from getting pummeled to rat shit from asteroids, I guess. Who knows? For all we know, those are just individual little mining spots from aliens. But here's a thought. I was thinking, the Earth doesn't have all those impact scars. I mean, we have impact scars for sure. But for the most part, I don't think the Earth is completely covered in impact marks like the moon. So that makes me wonder if maybe that sucker was created to be a magnet, an actual magnet, to help divert impacts on Earth to help preserve life here and make them get magnetized and pulled into the moon. Maybe. You never know. It's a thought. Yeah, I thought about that earlier. Thought I'd share that thought. What else? Another funny thought I had is all these dirty, filthy parasites run the planet. It's a fact that the ocean level was up, way up in the Rocky Mountains at one point. And I wonder if, back then, as absolute proof by all the seashell fossils in the slides up there that I've seen firsthand numerous times, and many people have. I wonder if there was tax money politicians around back then. I wonder if they would have helped the sea level stay up where it was back then. Right? Don't you think? What do you think? Yeah. You imagine the people that are in politics today convincing all of us that they're going to change the temperature of the atmosphere. Holy shit. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's what happens when I'm all by myself with a bunch of animals every day. Throwing some coffee. You know what I mean? Hey, anybody ever know what happened? Anybody know what happened to that hole in the ozone layer? Remember that big one? Did that get stitched up or something? Honest question. I totally forget. I just remember when there was the big hole in the ozone layer and people were dropping dead from skin cancer all over the frickin' place. And apparently the hole in the ozone layer is over top Australia this week. No shit, that was going down a handful of years ago. Anybody remember that? Or know what happened? Did they patch it up? What happened? Honest question. I just say this shit to make sure everybody's wheels are spinning on their own now and then. You know what I mean? Now, we have, I don't know what this is about, but it's a doozy. This is probably going to This video today is probably going to be dedicated to just this one email, by the looks of it. It's a doozy. Fresh off the pan. I'm going to mark this as red. Here we go. Apparently this took a couple years to do. Now listen to this. Hi, Steve. This is the size of an actual chapter, LOL, not a book. Please don't use my name. I want to keep my Yahi friend safe. I spent a long time writing my story in such a way that no one listening could recognize me or my location. Hopefully my email can't be tracked by anyone either. I sincerely hope not. Steve, I came upon this channel accidentally in January of 2023. I was 55 years old at the time and searching YouTube for something inspirational to take my mind off the shitty state of my home, Australia, and the whole world. Yeah, you guys got it bad down there, man. Like, bad. The Commonwealth as a whole has it really bad, including Canada, but you guys got it pretty bad. It only took a few emails before I was overcome with recognition and joy. The reason will become clear as I tell the story. More recently, when I listened to the interview between yourself and John Blatt, that I knew it was time to send it in. And then the ride of life carried on and I forgot about it again. Today I'm listening to True Talk episode 14, the Arizona 4, and sat down to go over this again with the intention of finally sending it in, LOL. I've been writing this on and off since mid-2023. Whether interesting or not, I am of Canadian native heritage, among other cultures. I'm a beasta, as we say in Australia. Beast of this and beast of that. My Canadian native grandfather came to live in Australia as a young man. I was a willful child raised in the outback, but now live on the coast. From the time I was very young, I freely wandered the bushland with Cindy, a blue heeler dog. Dad, a busy manager of a few cattle studs, knew I'd be safe with her when he couldn't keep an eye on me, and she would lead me home. I've seen, heard, and experienced many unusual things in my life, and I'm quite practiced at thinking in ways that most people do not. I do not jump to fear when I encounter something unusual. I'm curious, mostly. I remain still, observing my senses. I'd heard of Yahis in Australia twice in my life. I find it strange that I remember both times. Once was in primary school. I thought it was a story meant to scare children. And the second time was in high school. I remember thinking it was a myth originating from the southern mountainous regions of Australia. I never for 1 second thought the stories might also come from tropical rainforests, wetlands, or open bushland further north where I come from. In 2015, I published a novel. Curiously, now I think about it, the subplot is about a forest-dwelling race who are the distant ancestors of modern humans. They have abilities which humanity has long since forgotten. I digress. My local newspaper wanted to cover the news of my publication as a public interest feature and contacted me wanting a photo and interview about the book. In keeping with the theme of the story, they wanted to photograph me in bushland surroundings. I'm not comfortable being photographed. So because it was scheduled and I happened to be in the area, I suggested we meet in a nearby forest sanctuary, near where I've lived for the past 25 years. At 2 p.m., I met the photographer in the car park at the trailhead. We introduced ourselves and chatted as she hung her camera around her neck and loaded up her extra lenses and in a zippered bag that she slung over her shoulder. We strolled along the raised boardwalk which paralleled the road 150 meters away. And even though the trees were mighty enough to hide a person behind them, there isn't a dense canopy. And even though it was overcast, it was quite bright in the Melaleuca forest that day. It was what might be called an open forest with enough trees to obscure our sight off the road at that distance. To take the intended photo, we chose a spot about 200 meters along the trail from the car park. I stepped off the boardwalk onto the dry leaf litter and made my way across approximately 10 meters of dry sticks and leaves that crunched under my feet. Skirting fallen dry branches, I reached a huge paper bark tree, a melaleuca, where, under the photographer's instruction, I struck a bloody pose. We'd been at it for about 5 minutes, laughing at my discomfort that she had to keep snapping away because I take shitty photos. And suddenly our eyes locked, and a wave of fear passed into me. The way she stared back at me, I knew she was experiencing the same thing. I can only describe the feeling of fear wave as behaving like a sound wave would. If you've ever been in a crowd at a drag racing event when the top fuelers race down the quarter mile, you'll have a good idea of the way a sound wave blasts your body. Even when standing behind other people, it passes through you. It is almost what this fear wave was like. It hit us and traveled through us. It didn't settle in the way natural fear does, and it was clear by the look on her face, the photographer knew this too. And then there were words. The voice came from outside, but I heard it deep inside my head, not in my ears. It was auditory, and yet I heard words. With the urgency of a parent screaming at a child who's about to do something dangerous, it yelled, "Get out now." The photographer and I knew we were in danger, and it wasn't from the voice who had delivered us the frantic warning. Interesting. The fear wave and the words were intertwined with the flash of a vision. It all came at once. A man stood hiding behind a tree. I felt and knew he meant harm to us, and we had to leave. The photographer's actions told me she knew it too. She was grabbing her stuff and not making time to pack it in her bag. She pressed it all against her body, and as soon as I reached it, I stepped up onto the boardwalk behind her, and we rushed back the 200 meters to the car park. The very second we exited those trees, the feeling of pressure to get out now that was shoving us out of that forest stopped. In the car park, less than 15 meters from the roadside, where traffic was going by, we felt safe to stop and talk about what had just transpired. It was then I found out that she had felt and heard everything exactly as I had. She too had experienced paranormal things before and had a similar understanding and self-awareness as I did. And here I am at the end of that experience, left wondering what the hell had delivered this message in so many ways. Historically, the Melaleuca forest was the site of great atrocities committed against the original people by British invaders a long time ago. I thought it possible the warning had a ghostly source. I had experienced ghosts before, but not like this. Maybe it's from spirits of place. Land was known to hold strong energies like that of tragedy, anger, and grief. That's why people can sense the energy of a place when they enter it. Imagine my surprise when 8 years later in 2023, while listening to you read an email, I realized with total shock that part of what I experienced in 2015 was mind speak. I'd never heard that description before. Now I knew what I was dealing with. I felt such gratitude for having been warned of the danger back then that as I was driving by that same forest in 2023, I called out in my mind, "I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, I want to thank you for saving us." You can imagine my surprise when I got a reply, and it was warm. I was graced with a sudden vision of a nod and a vision of a life of experience with this forest person. I was graced with a sudden vision of a nod and a vision of a life of experience with this forest person. Lo and behold, it turns out, during all my forays into the bush when I was a kid, I wasn't alone. But I had been told to forget, and so I had, until that email you read unlocked the memories. And my Yahi friend showed me all the times he had been there for me. He's been nearby most of my life. The first memory that came back to me was a story my parents told a few times over the years about a prowler outside my window on a rainy night. I was 4 years old at the time. My mom had said her brother was coming to visit. He was the image of the wild youth of the early 70s. He had long, dark, curly hair and led a rebellious sort of life. The lovable Larkin. I'd been put to bed, but I stayed awake, hoping to hear his voice if he stopped by late. We lived in a house where the window in my bedroom was high off the ground, and at some point, I saw a face in my window. I didn't know it was too high for any average human to look through. The silhouette looked like it had long, curly hair. So, as the story goes, I called out to Mum to let her know that my uncle was there. She knew damn well he wouldn't be looking in my window because he'd called to let her know he wasn't coming. Mum rushed into my room in fright. The next day, Dad went outside and checked around the house and stopped beneath my window. And there were enormous bare footprints in the muddy earth. Dad always remarked that they were the biggest man's feet he'd ever seen. But there was more. When we lived on cattle studs, I would wander off into the bush while Mum cared for my younger siblings. I would have been no older than 5 years old, and I still know I was not alone. I know I had bush friends. I just thought I'd made it up. When I was a young woman of 21, my best friend and I planned to take a driving/camping trip to Cape York Peninsula. We spent months preparing. We decided to have a dry run and go camping at the local dry riverbed to test out our equipment and make sure we had everything we needed before leaving. We learned a lesson that night. We set up camp. We don't have much to be concerned about in the bush in Australia except snakes and wild boar pigs, which are enormous and aggressive. We just settled in for the night in our sleeping bags with a campfire. No tent for us. When the night went from busy and loud to silent in a heartbeat. We'd never experienced that before. We lay there alert, listening intently, and in the end we were spooked. We decided the only thing that made any sense was that there must be pigs nearby, and we decided to leave. We didn't even pack up. We were so frightened that we grabbed our sleeping bags and left everything else. We jumped in the long wheel-based Toyota Land Cruiser and drove to a paddock where her horses were on adjustment. We slept in the back of the car in the middle of the paddock. Throughout the night, something lifted the back of the car off the ground and dropped it, waking us with a start. She was convinced one of the horses had done it. I went along with it, not knowing what else it could have been. It seemed like the only logical explanation at the time, but why did that incident stick in my mind all these years? And incidentally, whatever caused us to be so scared that night saved our lives. We went back to retrieve our gear in daylight, and there had been a flash flood. It was all gone. We never slept on a dry riverbed again. No doubt. Now, this next story is not nice at all. A later incident flashed into my mind from when I was a young married woman. My first husband was a violent drunk, depending on what he drank. Oh, that sucks. Those people are gross, aren't they? Drunken people that are drunk, violent. Yeah, they're just gross. One night, we went out to dinner with friends at our small country town's golf club restaurant. The golf club was situated on top of a hill surrounded by scrubby bushland. It was an idyllic spot at night. The stars were so bright up there, where no streetlights caused light pollution, but it was extra dark that night due to cloud cover. Anyway, my ex had been drinking beer and was drunk when he decided he'd partake of his demon drink. It was scotch. I counted them. His number was 2. The second came and went, and he drank a third. I didn't want to go home with him because I knew what would happen. Ugh, that just grosses me out. Being young and inexperienced, rather than making a scene, I walked out into the dark car park with him. Once we reached our car, he suddenly picked me up off the ground by my neck. My legs were swinging. I guess the car was coming up the hill because, fortuitously, it was getting bright in the unlit car park. He dropped me to the ground. I scrambled into the dark of the nearby bushland, and he followed me, stumbling about. Once I was sufficiently recovered, I stood up and silently backed up against a bush. I thought I could just blend in. I heard a gentle voice say, "Be still, he will not see you." To this day, when I think back to that moment, I remember thinking it was an angel or something, and I just accepted it. I had no idea what it could be. I only recently realized that the voice belonged to my Yahi friend. Indeed, my ex-husband did not see me. I never forgot that incident. On 2 separate occasions while driving long distance alone, I'd been drifting off and I heard a voice sharply call my name. It was enough that I pulled over for a sleep. I've had many experiences with my Yahi friend since then and many conversations about various things of interest to me and him. On July 17th, 2023, in a How to Hunt email titled, "I recorded something wild today," timestamp 17:15, a man told a story which resonated with me. Some things this man said are an exact match for what my Yahi friend had told me before. He told me about the different kinds of beings on this planet. While he and his clan live on Earth permanently, as do others, there are those that do not. He can use the pathways to travel like others do, but his clan don't want to leave their home. Pathways, as he calls them, are what we might call portals. He says there are beings that live inside there permanently. Ferocious beings that even he prefers to avoid. He told me about battles between his kind and dogmen. They're not friends. And he's told me that not all his kind are tolerant of humans, nor are other kinds of forest people. See, there are different kinds of forest people. His kind are tolerant, long-haired, intelligent, mostly gentle-natured people. There's another kind who are large black ones. They are fiercer and have strict cultural codes. Then there are small orange ones about 4 to 5 feet tall, and I'm told they aren't to be trusted and should be avoided. He told me that when Yahi/Sabe/Sasquatch, etc. use mind speak, all other beings can hear it. He says those beings can find us if this method of communication is used. It's like ringing the dinner bell. And some object so vehemently into interaction with humans that they have been known to hunt and kill them. The last thing my Yahi friend wants is to bring their enemies straight to them or me. Mindspeak is a dangerous form of communication used only for emergency. Mindspeak is a dangerous form of communication used only for emergency situations for you and them. But there's another way to communicate with them that is not Mindspeak. My friend has linked us mind to mind. Maybe this is what tagging is. Excuse me. Mind to mind means we can converse privately. No other being can hear us or track us. Either one of us can open a dialogue or say no if it's not a convenient time. It's quite like answering a phone call. You don't have to answer it. It's not scary. But it was a serious undertaking that my friend had me consider carefully before he installed it, so to speak. It requires respect from both parties. For once it is installed, it can't be undone. I've not seen my Yahi friend physically as an adult yet, not since I was a child. I've only seen him psychically. He's the color of dry leaf litter and paper bark on the forest floor in the dry season. His color ranges from sprinkles of dark to pale grayish white. He's one of the big ones and is grandfatherly. My friend is kind, like his daughter and their family. His daughter has a partner, and he is one of the big, short-haired black ones like Patty. They have different traditions and values and very different attitudes. They're quite untrusting of humans. At first, her partner was protective and aggressive towards me. But now that he knows I mean no harm, he is comfortable with my occasional appearance. Now, buckle up. This is going to get difficult for those who don't know much about psychic interactions or astral traveling. When I first met my Yahi friend's daughter on an astral plane, her partner tried to end me. She's friendly and bright and curious, and she and I hit it off straight away and were speaking about cultural things which were unique to each of us. She was asking me about things that she had seen humans do, and we were laughing about it all. She asked me about the fist bump. Explaining the meaning, I offered her a fist pump, which she took part in. From a short distance away, her partner saw it and thought I was about to punch her, not knowing I was just an astral projection, not a solid being. He came at me. He slammed his fist down through my head and body. She's a delight. She laughed at the look on his face when his fist sank through my etheric body, only to hit the ground. He's a good protective mate for her, but he knew nothing of psychic projection while she did. He doesn't communicate in the same way she and her father do. He doesn't seem to have the ability to speak mind to mind. She told me he is from a strict hierarchical culture, which is intolerant of any break from that protocol, whereas my friend and his daughter and family are very tolerant and patient. My grandfatherly friend, who's been with me all my life, is beautiful. He teaches me by showing me. When I close my eyes and begin to speak to him, he will often show me where he is or what he's doing. I've come upon him squatting against a tree, eating a pile of random delights he'd gathered, berries and such. They were in a little pile on the ground between his feet. He was mindfully picking up each one and nibbling in a most considered way. It was as if he was meditating while he ate. He was enjoying it. The mechanics of how these messages are delivered don't seem mystical or creepy to me at all. Humans just don't know how to describe it yet. Perhaps this. Imagine my friend is a radio or a television, and he sends out a wave of information which bounces off the ionosphere, and when I am set at the correct frequency or channel, I receive it as words, feelings, and sometimes images. But because we are set to mind, it's like being set one channel only, perhaps in general. There is a part of our human brain which acts like an antenna for intuitive or psychic messaging, something else we've forgotten. I think the feeling of fear or even calm that some people describe occurring in their encounters might be a way to get people to stand to attention, like yelling, "Hey!" to someone. It shifts their attention to a state of full awareness. And then when Sabe has their attention, an individual is capable of clearly receiving a message rather than passing it off as a weird internal dialogue. I transcribed the points the Owlman sent in a long time ago. Personally, I found this interesting because it fit every single one of his profile points. From Owlman's personal research, Sabe, why me? Profile points of those who Sabe wants to connect with. Number 1. Females. Age doesn't matter. Most contactees are female, but not all. Number 2. Grew up in rural or semi-rural environments. It doesn't matter if they move to more urban living later. Number 3. Played outside as a child, often at night, spotlight, etc. Hunting, fishing, playing in creeks, bodies of water, attract attention. Number 4. Love of animals. Preferring the company of animals, especially horses and dogs, over people is a common trait. Number 5, indigenous heritage. Contactees tend to have bloodlines of 1 to 3 generations in the past. Tends to be tribal persons of some fashion, Native American, Indo-Pacific, Pacific Islanders, doesn't seem to matter. Yeah, that's a tough one for me, man, because it just doesn't matter. There's indigenous people around the planet on every continent of every skin variation, right? And we've all experienced this equally. So we can't leave out a group. Can't. I don't know why we do. Many do. It frustrates me. Sorry, Pacific Islanders doesn't seem to matter. There's something about people with these genetics that haven't been domesticated by modern civilization that came out of Western and Eastern Europe. Number 6, gifted. People with some supernatural gifts. Seer, prophetic, sensitive to unseen, many variations. This is the biggest factor for Sabe interest. Number 7, gifted people of family bloodlines, mother's line. Number 8, chronic illness or disability. Doesn't have to be serious. Asthma, lupus, autistic, genetic disorder. Maybe Sabe can sense or see people like this. Virus, like Ross River fever, recurring glandular fever, tonsillitis, etc. You've mentioned recently that you're going to call out to these people and have a conversation. I have a couple observations to share which might help. Once we start talking with regularity via the mind-to-mind link, which was established in 2023, my Yahi friend took a little while to fluently learn my language from our conversations. At first, he didn't understand concepts that we humans understand. It took long, sometimes tedious conversations to help him understand what I meant by certain things. Asking whether he had a name for this country was difficult. What is a country? Luckily, Australia is bound by sea, and it occurred to me to describe that so he could learn what I meant by the word country. They don't have language for certain things the way we do. Borders are foreign concepts, and certain of our physical limitations are foreign too. After 2 years of daily contact, it is now easier to have conversations without having to explain concepts or words I use first. We converse more fluently now. See, maybe now you have an idea how tricky it can be when first communicating with these people. There are language barriers and it takes effort. I imagine it's never a smooth conversation for most people, not right off the bat anyway. And if you strike up a conversation with a forest person, it will be because they allow it. Something else that might help you. You don't have to leave home to call the ones you want to speak to. Perhaps you wish to speak with the one who returned your knife, if indeed you believe it was one of these people. It seems to me that it was an intentional act of making contact, Steve. Whoever returned it knew it was your knife. They didn't have to do that. Maybe they've been waiting for you to be ready to respond. And by deduction, I believe it's probably one of the kind of forest people I talk to because the big black ones don't have the power of mind speak and would know your feelings about that knife. Whether you go out there or not, keep that returned knife experience in mind when mentally calling out to that being. Tell them you'd like to talk. It might take some time, but it also might be instant. Be prepared for either to happen and let it be okay. Anyway, that's my story, Steve. There are a lot of details I left out for the sake of my friend, but this email's long enough as it is. I'm just an ordinary woman having an extraordinary life. I have dear family, friends, and colleagues. Some know my experiences and some do not. It's not a big deal to me. It's just part of my life. I've listened to you read other people's accounts every day since January 2023. And now I look forward to hearing your thoughts after you've made first contact. Blessings to one and all at the How to Hunt coffee table. All right. That's a mouthful. That's a brain load. And as you know, many people here are going to be going, yeah, right. And other people are silently in the background, possibly going, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. And you're not the first to come forward with communicating with these people. And there's a lot of this, and a lot of the info drops there are somewhat patterns with what other people have shared. The good ones and the bad ones. But again, I think I've asked this almost every single time when I've hear of people who are in communication, and I still haven't had the answer smoothly. Never once, actually. But my number one question for quite a while was, are there human beings hunting you down and killing you? If so, who? Nobody's answering that for me. I don't know why. And with the intelligence of these people and what they allegedly can do with their minds and what they know about us and observe from a safe distance, they should be able to tell us exactly who, if it's true. Do you know what I mean? They should be able to tell us exactly who, what they look like, possibly their names, their ranks, where they came from, where they were born, where they grew up, and where they're home based, and where they drove or flew from to come and hunt them down and kill them. Just one question I've got. That would be very interesting to have that answered. Would it not? You know what I mean? I mean, if I was basically untouchable, as most of these people seem to be, and I was in communication with a human being and they asked me that and I knew the answer, I'd be like, hell yeah. This guy's name is Fred Smith is one of them, and he lives in whatever, Eugene, Oregon, at whatever address, and he was trained in Fort Lewis. You know what I mean? Like, some good, solid frickin' feedback in a conversation would do me a whole lot of help. And also, who enforces their laws? If they cross certain lines when it comes to between us, them and us, who enforces their laws? Who are they scared of, ultimately? Who gives them a spanking when they've crossed too many lines when it comes to them and us, them interacting with us, them killing us, maybe, possibly. Who gives them a spanking? Who are they scared of? Who are they ultimately ruled by? Who made their list of rules and who enforces it? The questions could go on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? Especially, you allegedly, I don't know who you are. I'm talking to the person who emailed, and I absolutely appreciate your time and your honesty in sharing us your life ride and experiences, first off, foremost. But you can understand where where these questions would come from. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't matter who it is, emails me, they're having smooth conversations, even taught them our language. And you're talking back and forth. All right, here we go. Let's get some questions answered. But I'm not getting them answered. Yeah? Not getting them answered. Maybe one day. Who knows? Very interesting, though. There's a lot to chew on there. There's a lot in there that is a somewhat patternable with what other people have sent in this past handful of years, right? There you go. That'd be great if you're having a smooth conversation with these people. If you could, I would love to hear the answers to those two questions that I have. I would absolutely love to. If you would. If not, that's fine. And there you go, you guys. Take from what you will and leave it. That's a bunch, wasn't it? That was a bunch. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. I wonder how many people are out there silently listening away who are possibly in the exact same position. You may be allegedly be having some sort of relationship with an unknown people, unacknowledged people, publicly unacknowledged people to us. And you just sit in the background, watching and listening, and not pulling the trigger on sharing. I wonder how many of you are out there that fit that column. I wonder how many. I'm thinking there's a lot of you. That's what I'm thinking. In time, if you want to come forward and share what you got, in time, we're always going to be here until we're not. This next email is titled, Was It a Bigfoot? Steve, I've sent this story to you before, and since I haven't heard it read, I'm sending it again, just in case it was lost in that batch of emails. No worries, brother. It was way back in 1972 time frame. I was stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. Newly married with our first and only child, a beautiful little girl of mixed descent. Her mother is a beautiful Puerto Rican, and I'm Caucasian. It was in the summer, and our whole shop, hydraulic, had set up a picnic for everyone to get together at a pretty good-sized local lake where we could picnic and rent rowboats if we wanted to. So I rented one. Me and my wife and little girl decided to row away from the crowd, and I selected a pretty good-sized point to go have our picnic lunch. Being in a rowboat, I looked for the closest one for us. Now, I can't recall the name of the lake due to old age. I'm 76, and it's a nice drive from the base. It sure was nice getting to go there for the get-together picnic. So I rowed up to the edge of that point. It was pine wooded, so I picked up a nice place to set up, and we carried our blanket and everything to eat on the pine-needled floor. It was sunny and a beautiful day for it. We were just getting ready to eat after settling down when all of a sudden I looked at my wife and she was looking off into the woods behind me. She had a worried look on her face. So I asked her, "What's got you spooked?" When it hit me, a feeling of what everyone says is dread came over me big time. I was so startled. I jumped up and started looking around the area behind me. I walked back into the woods a little ways while keeping an eye on her and my little 1.5-year-old daughter, just in case. The further I got back in the woods, the worse the feeling got. It was unreal of the level that I was experiencing. So I walked back over to her and asked if she wanted to leave, and she immediately said yes. So we gathered up everything and hightailed it back to the boat. As soon as I was going to push off the boat, I thought I heard something back in there where we just came from. But after looking, I couldn't see anything. No animals or anything. The dreaded feeling was really strong and finally subsided as I rode away from it. We got back to our picnic crowd, and I swore to never go back to that lake again. I never told anyone back then. You know, you don't want the ridicule and ribbing. So that's my short story. I don't think it was a bear scaring us, because if it was, and it was hungry, it would be a missing persons or bear attack report. After thinking about it over the years, I honestly think it was a Bigfoot, or as I now know, a sabe. Thanks for reading this to everyone. I've only told 3 or 4 other folks at work 5 or 6 years ago this story, and I told them, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Believe it or not, I don't care. You take care of yourself, Steve and Sarah, and that beautiful dog, Ruby. That's a beautiful island that you folks live on. It's breathtaking. Sometime I'd like to watch and listen to that Moon and Indian Wind song that I've only heard a couple of times before. That's something that you caught it on camera. That's an Indian song for sure, brother. Oh, and if and when you get to sit down and talk to the Sabe folks, ask them for me. Why in the hell do they put out that dreaded feeling? That's creepy as hell. Dan Coaster Napier, Bonaire, Georgia. P.S. Sarah, if this gets through to you, please send it to Steve for me. This is my second attempt to get it to him. Thank you, dear Dan. We got it, man. Appreciate it. And you got to think, like I've said, I don't know how many times before, a lot of people that email us in, it might not sound like much to a lot of people listening, but think about it. Think about what kind of an impact that feeling must have been to make you pack it around for years on end, never go back to that lake or wherever ever again, and then to actually knee-jerk you into emailing it in here. You know what I mean? It might not sound like much, but think about it. That feeling has got to be absolutely crazy, like, ugh. Who's doing it? Is it us? Is it our guardian angel? Is it them? I've got to run out in the backyard. Ruby's going up and down if you hear that weird noise in the background. But anyway, here we go. There's a couple voices heard today. I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. I don't even know how long I've been sitting here, but I got a lot of chores I got to get done now. A lot. So we'll see how it goes later on today, how I do. And I just might get a hold of another one of our friends from the Arizona 4 maybe later. We'll see how I make out. No promises. Because once I say I'm going to, I got to do it. But I can't say that just quite yet. Too much going on. Yeah, I'm having thoughts too when there's a lot of people out there who are absolutely convinced that all hell is ready to fall upon us from a trigger. Somebody's going to pull the trigger and all these beasts are going to descend upon us and inflict nothing but terror and death. There's a lot of people out there absolutely convinced of that. Am I convinced of it? No, I'm not fully convinced of it, but it's definitely sitting on a shelf in the back of my head, right? As it should be. It's kind of like the how could I say this? It's kind of like the dogman thing in a way. I've shared that numerous times in the past. All right, people are coming up with a live wearable, seeing this dogman thing. Me, I'm going, oh my God, please get off the crack pipe, right? For a handful of years until we finally started doing this, what, six frickin' years ago? And then I had to kick myself in the side of the head and go, wake up, stupid. You've got eyewitnesses from around the globe, not connected in any way, having basically the exact same experience of seeing these frickin' things. Right? So, I had to wake up in a way and accept the testimony from all of you, as anybody should. So that being said, we have so many people saying there's all these various monstrous beings that can make a man's heart stop just from seeing them. Allegedly. That theme has been repeated a lot. Has it not? Enough that it's made a shelf in the back of my head. I'll put it that far so far. Well, it's a shelf in the back of my head. Who knows? It's obviously a possibility, is it not? As we sit here trying to figure shit out. What are you doing, Pops? Kind of hot out there, isn't it? Eh? For a big black furry dog like you. You gonna heat it up? I have to take her down the river, chuck her in the pool. But anyway, let's just say that is the case. Especially for all you people, for all you protector type men. What's your go-to? Do you know what I mean? What's your go-to? If that shit goes down, I mean, just when you start picturing shit, I always picture everything. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I foresee accidents I might have. I picture where I'm going to go travel, where I'm going to go hunt. I am, just because of my lifestyle, I'm always saying to myself, especially when I'm fishing by myself, okay, you haven't screwed up yet, so don't do it. How can you screw up? I always do that to myself. Always. But so just say, throwing a crazy story out there. I'm looking out the front window right now. I can see all the way up to the front road. I can just see up to my neighbor's house up there. Holy shit, what's that? Oh my God, there's like a 2 or 3 8-foot tall, hairy, upright beings ripping the wall out of his house right now. Just grabbed his wife out of there and killed her. Huh? What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? I don't want to. There's no way. I don't jump on the bandwagon of keeping everybody scared of shit like the majority of people seem to be doing online with channels right now with various topics. World War III is coming. There's a new plague coming. They've got intentionally disease-plugged mosquitoes being dropped in the earth right now. It's just nonstop. The fear theme line is every single day in the title of so many freaking videos out there, and I'm not one of those people to do it. I'm just saying. When you hear the testimonies of so many people saying the same thing about these beings that are about to descend upon us and wreak havoc, all right, well, let's just say that's valid. What are you going to do? What's your plan? Do you know what I mean? What's your plan? I mean, not the reality of my existence is we potentially have apex predators in my yard, and we have children here quite often, right? I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm prepared to deal with that scenario if or when it arises. No problem. So what would I do, though, if there was an 8 or 10 foot tall, hairy, upright beings going house to house, absolutely shredding human beings? Holy shit. That'd be something else, wouldn't it? I wouldn't be thinking about getting online and live streaming it before I did anything, that's for sure. Or grabbing a camera. What would I be doing? I would probably be grabbing my 300 Ultra Mag, which is a rocket launcher, and I'd be popping heads. That's probably the only thing I'd come up with for myself. I mean, what would you guys be doing? That's what I'd be doing as long as I could. Would it be effective? I don't know. I haven't been attacked by an 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, upright human-like being yet. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I don't know. I mean, I'm taking all scenarios into account through lifetime with all sorts of different topics, and that one I haven't put too much energy into that possibility, if it is. But right now, let's just toss it around. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to sit and pray? I don't think, if that's the case, I don't think they would They're popping heads off humans across the road. I don't think they're going to stop there if they see you sitting down and praying. I would imagine. But yeah, I think that would probably be my go-to, be my 300 Ultra Mag. Headshots till I ran out, and then I'd probably have the sawed off with slugs. And then, I don't know. I don't know, right? Throw down in the comment section below, what are you going to do? If you are absolutely, in your mind today, right now, you are 100% convinced that at some stage, there's going to be these monsters unleashed on the population. What's your go-to? If you are 100% convinced of that and you got a family of children, you got to have something. You got to have something going on for your go-to. I want to hear what it is. I'll read about it. Throw it down in the comment section below. What's your go-to? You know what I mean? If you can say with confidence that is going to happen, then I would imagine you're doing something for backup. Want to hear about it. Anyway, enough babbling. I'm out of here. Holy chore time today again. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe even later on this evening. We'll see. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get me the truth.